Hi, it's Ftrhstry. I'm Kingdangerously. We're remembering the next 100 years. Here to talk today about Alpha Centauri, because if you like the future, you probably already know some things about Alpha Centauri. Maybe you'd like to reach for a few more. Here's one thing you probably know. It's the closest star system to Earth, right? You probably knew that. It's about 4 light years away. Light year here, light year there. Pretty soon you've got an 8-year minimum round-trip radio communication time, which is what we've got with Alpha Centauri. Something else also probably new is that it's a bright star in the sky. Yeah, because it's close. It's like the 3rd brightest in the sky as seen from Earth. The brightest stars are Sirius and Canopus, and number 3, that's Canopus. Both things are great. Anyway, it's in the leg of the Centaurus constellation, which you can see in the southern sky. Can't miss it. Looks like a human-horse combination. You can miss it. It's just a squarey blob thing. But the bright bit of the squarey blob is Alpha Centauri. Right next door, Beta Centauri. Similar, also cool. And just like Alpha Centauri, Beta Centauri is a tri-star system, which is really cool. It's like 3 suns, you know, for the price of no suns. Because suns are free. They're just here. If you were to visit, it would take you a very long time, like tens of thousands of years at current propulsion speeds. But in the 2020s, you're working on some adorable technologies to blast away for things, as we discussed in the episode about sending tardigrades to visit Alpha Centauri. Hi, don't write, you'll be dead in like 6 months. Well, they'll sort of defreeze, and you can watch the episode if you want to see it. 2 of the stars in this system, Alpha Centauri A and B, sexily named, orbit each other at a rate of around once every 80 years. That's, you know, pretty fast, cosmically speaking. And both of those stars are fun because they're like very similar to the sun. Alpha Centauri A is like 1.12-ish size, the mass of the sun, and it's 1.5 times as bright. Interesting, right? And Alpha Centauri B is about 0.9 times the mass of the sun, so just a little less massy. It's significantly less bright, less luminous, only 0.5 as luminous as the sun. And then way off to the side, they've got one other cool sibling we call Proxima Centauri, and that's the closest one, which is why it's called Proxima appropriately. So that one's only about 4.24 light years away. The others are like 4.37 light years away. And so A and B are orbiting each other, and they're the real bright ones. Like the combination of those 2 things is what you see in that leg of the very obvious centaur-looking thing in the southern sky. You can't see from Earth by naked eye. Proxima Centauri. You've got to use a telescopy. And that one is orbiting A and B orbiting each other once every 80 years. They get about as close to each other as the sun gets to Saturn, like 11 AU, and about as far from each other as the sun from Pluto, which is like 35 AU. And AU is an astronomical unit, about the distance between Earth and the sun, ish 90 million miles, a little bit more. AU, is that a solar system, or are you just flying alone in the deep emptiness of void? Proxima Centauri rotates around A and B at a far slower pace. Do you want to guess? Take a few seconds to guess. That orbit happens once every 550,000 years. That is a bit more like it, isn't that, for cosmic timescales? What's fun about Proxima Centauri, other than the fact that it's just the closest and actually going to gradually get closer over the decades to come, is that it's got planets for sure. There may be other planets in this system. We know a little bit more about this system where I'm from. We've got the probes, the tardigrades have reported back, and we've got some fun little warpy things. Our AI is like all over it, but what you know in the 2020s is that there's definitely a Proxima B, which is a planet a lot like Earth, like just about Earth size, just a little bit massier than Earth, and it's in the Goldilocks zone, the habitable space where you're close enough to be warm but not so close you're getting scorched off to Proxima Centauri. Downside is that it might be getting scorched off anyway because it's probably tidally locked, you think, in the 2020s. It may be rotating slowly but it's probably set so that one side of Proxima Centauri b always faces Proxima Centauri, which is enough even for a less bright star to blow a bunch of stuff off of it. So they're very close. It's like 0.05 AU apart, the sun and the star there, the alpha sun and the Proxima planet. But because Proxima Centauri, the star, is so much dimmer, it's a red dwarf, that closeness is actually great for Proxima Centauri because it needs to be closer to get that heat. Like, we've got to be close to each other to feel the warmth and smell each other's breath. That's disgusting. Then far out at 1.5 AU, which in this system again is like a lot, that's like really far, is Proxima Centauri c, which is like, we think in the 2020s, you think a Neptune-y thing, maybe a bunch of rings. There could be a D lurking out there, and there might be planets around A and B, which is possible and exciting because again, A and B are very similar to the sun in their size, luminosity, not the brain app, which is also fine. So that's it. You've got a solar system orbiting these other two potential solar systems in this wacky way that's really hard to predict, like famously mathematically very difficult to extrapolate where any one of these objects is going to be at any given time because it's very complicated and it's like it changes every time they go around, right? Because the 550,000 years happen while lots of these 80-year cycles happen, and of course it's not a pure circle. Like at times Proxima is closer to A and B, and at times it's quite far away, so it's difficult to tell at a glance how that might affect the system. Maybe some of the planets swap around, or maybe they wobble in weird ways because of the gravitational influences of the three bodies. I'll drop a note about bodies and how you should check them out, especially if there are three of them. No hints. All right, in the future, we know more. We've sent more stuff. We've visited via tardigrade. We haven't got people to Alpha Centauri, but we've zapped little probes there much faster, like using tech that's only twinkles in the eye of you adorable 20-year-olds. And we're working on the beginnings of people, like way out where I'm from in the 2120s. We're just starting to think about getting people in space boats who want to go there and live. And that's not purely because it takes 100 years for people to get that insane. People are already that insane where you're from, but the technology to support them in these generation ships where people have to be, some of them cryonically frozen and some of them just sort of with no expectation that they might see the destination. They're all about the journey, you know, which is what we all aspire to be, you know. We talk big about where we're going, but more than anything, really, it's how we spend today. And you've got to have both the macro goal of your destination and the immediate goal of finding contentedness and peace and joy, whatever measure you can muster in your present circumstance. So that's one way to think funly about Alpha Centauri. It's a long goal, but something we can move toward gradually and enjoy every step of the way. Another way to think of it is like a dear friend you know you could be close with if you just reached out more, found a way to bridge that gap between you, or a loved one in your life that you don't communicate with enough. But if you just opened your heart and you expanded your telemetry instruments and invented some warp drives, you might be able to crack the code. So keep an eye on Alpha Centauri, maybe look some stuff up about it. You could look at the Starshot project, you could research that, or you could watch our episode about the tardigrades and the solar waffles that they're on to go say hi for all of us. If I get there first, I'll say hi for you, and you please do the same for me. All right, see you out in the stars. Ftrhstry. Bye.